Jared, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, I am the founder and I guess you'd call me the visionary of LaJaunie's Pest Control. Founded it in 2008 and we've scaled it to four branches and over 100 employees in 17 years. So we're very proud of that. I currently have a leadership team and a CEO that runs the day-to-day of LaJaunie's, and I kind of just do weekly meetings and stay on top of it. I'm a serial entrepreneur, I guess. I also own a junk hauling company and a partnership in a mold company. And then, of course, we do a little bit of real estate, little multifamily. So I stay pretty busy, man. I'm married for 25 years. I got married when I was 18, and I have two grown kids, a 25-year-old, and my youngest turned 23 yesterday. So yeah, man. And I'm down here in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Nice. What inspired you to start this business? The first one, which would be LaJaunie's.
Yeah, man, I started with Arkin when I was 18 when I got married. So really I've done pest control my whole life. And I think I thought what every entrepreneur has to think at some point before they go into business. And I just really felt that I could bring more value, do a better service, and generally just overall provide a better customer experience than the large company that I had worked for many years. And I think every entrepreneur has that moment. I think you have to have a little bit of that hubris to think that, right? We all have to have that little bit of that ego when we start and believe that. And I was 28 when I started that company, and I had a lot of ego, and I believed it with my whole heart that I could do it better. And still today, I think we do it better than a lot of our competition. I truly do feel that. And as I've scaled, I think it does get harder as you scale to keep that high quality touch. But we've done it pretty well. We've done it pretty well.
When you think back to those early days, what was probably the biggest challenge you faced?
Man, when you start, the biggest challenge, you know, um, I thought it would be getting customers, and that definitely in the early days is a little bit of challenge. But when I'd worked for the larger organization, one of the things that helped me is I'd worked on a door knocking team when I was young and really learned that skill of door knocking. So when I first started, I door knocked a lot. And it really helped me build my company early. I just did it by myself. I didn't hire a team. I just personally door knocked. And I was able to put on customers, and that was much less of a challenge than I thought. But what was more of a challenge than what I would have anticipated was hiring and getting good people. And I was completely naive about systems and infrastructure and things like that. I really had to learn how to do business as I went. So my earliest challenges was just learning how to hire and put infrastructure in place, not getting customers, which was my biggest fear when I started, right? Of just how I'm going to get customers. But that ended up not to be the biggest challenge at all.
So what does a day to day look like for you now compared to back then?
Very different today than back then. When you start, you're waking up at 6 o'clock, you're throwing your clothes on, you're getting out the door with a cup of coffee, you ain't got time for nothing else. You're the first one to hit the door in the morning. After the first year, I had two or three employees. So you're getting there, you're meeting with your two or three employees, you're kind of lining out the day and you're doing everything, right? You're going to run your stops, your cell phone's on you, it's ringing all day. And you work till 8, 9 o'clock at night. You come home, schedule your day, do paperwork. I mean, it's that entrepreneur grind, right? And I mean, I did that grind for a good decade, honestly, man, to the point almost of burnout, right? And then I joined a mastermind group and I kind of got outside and started learning the terms that you always hear, kind of working on my business instead of in it. Kind of flipped my mindset and was able to pull myself out of it. But anyway, to kind of come back to your question, today my days look much better. I wake up about 8 o'clock, get a workout in. I'll usually drink my coffee. I like to do sauna, cold plunge every morning. And I spend a good probably from 8 to 10 o'clock just on self-care every morning. And then about 10 o'clock, I'll get into whatever my day is. Right now, currently, what's taking most of my time and energy is running my junk hauling company. And so mostly it's some networking and marketing and doing some scheduling and just overseeing that. And I got a little office where I'll go to and oversee that. And that's taking a good 4 to 5 hours of my day. And then probably another 2 to 3 hours of my day, I'm working with my partner on my other company, Sinclair's Restoration. But I make it a point today. I don't. I try to make sure and that doesn't always work. But by 5:30, I make it a point to try not to be doing anything for work for the most part. I'm not so hard on that, that if something's going on or something needs to be done that I won't. And sometimes I will find myself still working late into the evening. But as a general rule, unless there's something that really needs my attention or that's pulling on me, I try by at least 5:30 to have personal time.
You mentioned how you were in a mastermind back then. So you were already on that topic of being a visionary and thinking strategically. So what was probably the biggest needle mover for the business around that time?
Oh man, joining that mastermind, I just got to see what other bigger companies were doing that I wasn't doing. And it was just a lot of things. I can go into process, and there was a lot of processes we wasn't doing, a lot of things I learned, but really it was my mindset. It was my mindset changed when I got around people that were doing bigger things. And I just started to believe in myself more that I could do bigger things. When you start, really, my mindset was just let me just make enough money to pay my bills and have some financial freedom. And I didn't have the vision, although, they say I'm visionary, and I'm probably visionary just in being crazy and starting businesses. But back then, I didn't have the vision to believe or see what that company could be. I mean, back then, I was trying to hit $1 million in revenue, and I thought if I ever hit $1 million in revenue, I had made it. I was rich, right? That's not true. $1 million, by the way, is the hardest place to be, and you are not rich with $1 million in revenue. I could promise you.
Hmm.
But getting around other people doing better, my mindset changed to believe that I could do more. And today, I don't believe there's no cap. There's no cap on what I could do. I can grow just as tall as a tree can grow in nature, right? As much as I'm willing to invest in myself and grow myself, and as much energy as I want to put into any project, I can grow it as big as I want it to be. I didn't always believe that or feel that way about myself.
What was probably the best marketing strategy you have implemented in the early days?
So I'm aging myself a little bit. So that was 2008 when I started. Really, I started in a rural market called Thibodeau, right outside of New Orleans. I'm in New
Okay.
Orleans now in Baton Rouge. I'm up throughout most of Louisiana today, but I started in a rural town called Thibodeau. And I was, believe it or not, I was one of the first ones in my little tertiary market to really utilize Facebook in an aggressive way. I think at the time, most of my competitors didn't even have a website. So I had a website going, and I was door knocking, and I did a lot of guerrilla marketing. So I got in a lot of trouble actually, but I had a lot of yard signs, and I'd staple them on every phone post. I'd put them in every yard, right? And as you go to find out, that's illegal. You can't just put them, but we did it anyway. And we got a lot of calls from that guerrilla marketing with the door hangers and the yard signs. And like I said earlier, we did a lot of door knocking in the early days too. Uh, but what worked back then doesn't work today. And I think marketing is an ever evolving thing. Like I think, man, almost from year to year, you got to change your marketing strategy. Definitely what worked for me in 2008. If I was doing those same tactics today, my competition would be blowing past me. And every year you kind of got to relook at it. As a matter of fact, I feel like the marketing is changing more frequently today, faster than ever. And it's becoming more and more difficult and complicated to kind of dial it in and figure it out from year to year. Whereas in the past, you may get a strategy that worked 2, 3, 4 years in a row. Man, right now, for the last couple of years, you really are annually, you got to be kind of changing up what you do. The technology is moving fast around that.
What do you think that is?
Man, I don't know. It seems like technology is just compounding on itself faster and faster. I mean, the trend word, the hot thing, and we kind of talked about it earlier, but AI. AI is just compounding technology and just moving the space. And I heard a term I'm still having to learn, but they saying SEO is dead. Now they're calling it AEO. So they're saying you're really going to have to and you probably know a lot more than me. I'm totally novice, but they're saying that you're going to have to do things that the AI picks up on now versus like traditional SEO. And I mean, that's all foreign to me, man, but it's just another thing that I have to learn, that I have to stay on top of, or hire people that are better than me to learn and help me with, right? And so it's just ever changing. I think AI has been a big part of that. But even before AI, Google was changing its algorithm all the time and things were just changing. But now in the last few years with AI, it's just moving so fast you can hardly keep up with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely changing things rapidly and ever growing so quickly. Yeah, I know you briefly touched upon it. Yes, SEO is it's not dying, but it's definitely changing. Now you have to change your strategy completely when it comes to it. It's mind-boggling because there's a ton of people that don't know about it. So it's something you could get left behind pretty quickly. Only in that side of that avenue, obviously, because there's multiple avenues. But yeah, So with that being said, though, what marketing strategies are you doing now that's working for you?
So, I mean, we still do some traditional marketing. We still do billboards. We still do the yard signs. I still had most of the technicians, put magnets on the ice boxes. Always believe in being top of mind and always thinking about branding. But by far, our biggest investment and what generates the most business for us is our digital marketing by far. We use Google Ads, which we use AI, a program called Performance Max, which is an AI program to do our Google Ads. And we've had a lot of success with that Performance Max. And then we have a huge budget that we spend, and probably the majority of our leads are coming from Google Guaranteed, or they call it GLS now. And we have that dialed in. And I do believe we use a form of AI with that too to best run that marketing campaign. Like AI doesn't run the GLS, but we do use a form of AI to kind of consult us on the best cost per lead and regions and how much, like just an overall strategy of GLS. The AI kind of helps us figure it out.
Is that probably the best way of for you guys to get clients at the moment?
At the moment, the GLS seems for the time being to be yeah, absolutely the best marketing tool that we have going. But I'm willing to bet that's going to change too in the near future. So we always have to be looking for what's ahead. So we're always in the front. But for the time being, yes, GLS seems to be what's working the best currently.
Have you ever felt like the business plateaued? And if so, what probably caused the business to plateau?
Man, I don't know if honestly I never felt that. We've been in a growth mode for a while. I don't think we ever plateaued. I think I did struggle the first 7, 8 years, like I said, with my mindset and believing that it could grow. But we always did grow, even back then. So we've always had a growth mindset. We've never plateaued. Even today, we're still growing. I've always been big on growth. I can't say we've ever hit a plateau. Just can't say that we have, man. Honestly, we've grew at least 30, 40% and was on the Inc. 500 like 4 or 5 years in a row. We've just been blessed, and plateau's not in our dictionary, man. It's not something we buy into. We don't believe
Nice.
that. Yeah.
That's great, man. That's good. What do you think is probably the most time consuming thing for your leadership team?
That is an excellent question. Probably what the most time consuming thing, what I want it to be and what it actually is. It's probably communication amongst departments takes a lot of their time, and honestly, just putting out fires. But where I want them spending most of their time and where I'm always trying to direct them to spend most of their time, and I think we are getting better at putting more of our time and energy into this, is really what I want them to be doing most of the time. My leadership team is just recruiting the most talented people 24/7 and mentoring and growing our A players and making sure that they're getting the C players off our team in a timely manner. If I could choose what I want them doing most of the time, I'd want most of their energy going to that. In the real world, is that really happening? Probably not as much as I would like because there's so many moving parts of the business that they're responsible for. But yeah, I've definitely figured out in business, it's not always a how, but a who. And one of the things that I think has helped me have the most success is that leadership team because they're awesome, putting them around me. And I'm always explaining to them that they have the privilege to put the people they want around them, and the people they surround themselves with will directly impact our business and also how easy or hard their job is. And so just recruiting the most talented people is where I personally like to put most of my energy and where I'd like most of my team's energy to be most of the time.
What does the delegation process look like for the team?
It's a good question. The delegation process for the team, we run EOS, man. We have weekly meetings, and to be honest, we've all gotten better at delegation, especially me. I've gotten better at it. It's taken me some time. I'm a big fan of Dan Martell. Read his book recently, Buy Your Time Back, right? My team is still a young leadership team. They've only been together, this team as a unit for maybe 4 or 5 years. So
Okay.
I still consider them a pretty young team, and they're definitely still learning delegation. Some of my managers do it better than others. I can tell you what, the ones that do it better have more success and move the needle faster than the ones that are still learning. Delegation is a huge part of being business. And I think a lot of people struggle with it because the people I see struggle with it want to kind of be a hero, take it all on themselves and kind of feel like they're doing the right thing by taking it on themselves, kind of like doing everybody else a favor. I want to be a hero kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I can admire that. putting all the work on your shoulders. I've been that guy, so I understand it. But man, you never move the needle as much as when you can delegate and enroll multiple people in your vision all going in the same direction together. When you're delegating properly, it just becomes a powerful force that just moves the needle faster than you ever could do by taking all the work up on yourself.
Is there a department you probably feel you have like least amount of control over, or a sector of the business?
Yeah. Operations. So I have
Okay.
a sales manager, operations manager, administrative manager. I have HR manager, and I have a finance manager, and that's kind of the core, and my CEO. So that's kind of the core of my leadership team. And by far, what I struggle the most to keep my hands around and know what's going on is operations. Operations is obviously one of the bigger parts of the business. It's what I did for years, right? It's the actual work getting done. Yeah, operations would be the most difficult part, just to keep my hand around and know what's going on. Unfortunately, at this level, sometimes I feel things are happening. I don't find out till maybe a week later, right? Which can
Mm,
be frustrating because I can't fix what I don't know is happening.
yeah. So how are you going about bettering that process?
Well, we recently hired a business coach. We run on the EOS systems, and we've been doing that for a while and pretty good. But we've brought in a coach to help our middle management learn how to run EOS better and more quickly bump up those issues to the leadership team because a lot of our issues come from our middle management not quickly enough or adequately enough communicating to the leadership team. So just like me, a lot of times the managers are not finding out in a timely enough manner to address it, and money is speed, right? I mean,
Yeah.
money's fast. And in the customer service business, a big part of it is addressing a customer complaint or concern or a problem quickly. I mean, if Miss Jones has a problem and you get back to her 2 or 3 days later, that's late. That's a problem. You almost need to be responding same day, next day, and as we've gotten larger, it's been more difficult for my middle management to quickly communicate that to the right person to be dealt with in a timely manner. Does that make sense?
Yeah. With that being said, how do you incorporate customer feedback in the business?
So our CRM has an NPS score that we read and we monitor. So we're always looking at that customer NPS score. Of course, we have automated Google reviews, so we're always watching our reviews, right? We have one employee, two employees that all they do is deal with customers that are upset or that want to cancel. They go right to these two ladies, and all those cases are documented. So if they want to cancel or even if they have a complaint, there's two people in my company. That's their whole job. That's all they do is deal with that customer and are trained in documentation and so we'll look at that about at least once a month. We do a weekly meeting, then we do a monthly bigger meeting, and at least once a month I'll personally review that data and see if I can pick up on a trend of maybe if a customer, if I have complaints, maybe service dissatisfaction, or if I repeatedly see something, for instance, where the technicians were late, or just look for a trend where I see
Hmm.
something that shows me a problem that I can actually step in and fix.
On the topic of like data and trends,
Mhm.
what KPIs do you mostly focus on?
Man, we track bunch of we run our company based on a lot of data. At one point, I made most of my decisions based on emotion. Today, we make all our decisions based on data. We keep a plethora of different KPIs, but you're asking me which ones I personally look at the most.
Yeah.
Well, the one that comes to mind first is my P&L, right? My profit versus net loss. I'm looking at that pretty frequently, or at least monthly for sure, at the very least. But then some of the other ones that I look at pretty frequently is my CAC, my cost to acquire a customer, how much I'm paying per lead. Pay attention to that pretty good. My fuel, my chemical spend, I watch that pretty closely. My payroll, I watch that pretty closely as well. And then we have all kind of KPIs, man, on our fleet, on tech performance. I mean, I couldn't even, without looking at the reports, tell you, but I probably have 20 different KPIs that we monitor that basically I run my business off of those reports today. I meet once a week with my leadership team and go to those meetings. But one of the things I do daily, I probably take at least 30 minutes or sometimes an hour every day to look over my KPI reports. And I've been doing it so long now that I can pretty much tell you what's happening in my company and where I need to interject. by looking at that data from those KPI reports.
Was there ever a time where you're looking at all that data and you're like, we need to implement a new process completely?
Yeah,
What was that?
absolutely. At one point, we were having, as we scale, I kind of mentioned it earlier, it gets more difficult at some point. When we may have grew too fast at one point. At one point, I went into two markets at the same time, which I wouldn't do again. I would just go in one market at a time, bill, and go another one. But I was younger and ambitious, so I went into two markets at the same time, and we grew really fast in both markets, which was a
Mhm.
blessing. But it really became difficult for a season to maintain a high quality service through the fast growth. And so I kind of knew it was happening, but my KPIs and my data really pointed it out and put kind of a red flashing light on it for me. And so we doubled down. I replaced some people. It's the first thing I done. I had to let go of some people and replace with some better people in leadership of those new markets. But then we also had to look back to our basics and re-implement some of our basic training protocols and SOPs that had got overlooked and really double down on that. And in time, it ended up working and we were able to get back to our high quality of service. But without those KPIs, me paying attention to them, we probably would have eventually caught it, but it was able to be brought to my attention very quickly, and I was able to respond and make some decisions very quickly by daily looking at those KPIs, and I was able to kind of see the trend before it became a really big problem.
Okay. And now, in your current state of the business, is there any process or system that feels outdated or inefficient?
Anything that feels outdated or inefficient. Hmm. Let me think about that, Martin. Anything that feels outdated or inefficient. Man, I don't know, but I can't answer that. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that does. But I can tell you this, we have been killing bugs pretty much the same way for as long as I can remember. I mean, we've had some different products, but the basics of it have remained the same. And I'm always looking for a better way to do it, whether it's a new toy or a new technique or a new tool or some kind of new technology. And man, I really just feel that something could be done better. Even today, I'm always looking for a way to do it better or a better system, and I'm quick to adapt to technology to do so. But in general, it's been done the same way, and that just feels antiquated. I mean, I'm not everybody in the industry is doing it the same way for the most part. I mean, everybody could say, this company's better and that better, but at the end of the day, the only thing that makes one company better than the other is their culture and with the type of customer experience they're able to perform. Everybody really is killing bugs the same way. I'm sorry. I mean, they try to act like, like I kill bugs better than you. No, man, if as long as you got a good technician and he's trained or using the same products, you have the same knowledge as any other guy, you don't win on how good you can kill a bug. You win on your customer experience and what type of culture you can provide for your employees. That's where you win. So I really am looking for a way to actually be a better bug killer, but I haven't found it yet. Right? I'm looking. Want
Okay.
to disrupt the industry or find a better way. Maybe I can get some drones or some AI robots one day. I mean, I can really let my mind run on that, right? I want to be the first one with a robot spraying a house, Martin. I'm down for it. I'm here for it. Maybe you can help me with that. I don't know.
I actually just saw a video the other day of, I think I don't remember if it was Peru. Some guy, he's actually washing buildings now with drones.
Yeah,
Pretty
see,
cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, he's washing
yeah.
buildings with drones. Yeah. Every week, something new. Now, I'm curious about how you're going to answer this next question. If you had a magic wand to instantly improve any part of your business, what would it be?
Communication between my sales and operation team, right? Any company I've been part of and any other entrepreneur I talk to, it's an old age problem. But sales goes and sell it, operations has to perform the work. And there's always friction between sales and operations. And if I could just do something to get them on the same page, moving together and have good communication between my sales, and we do okay at it. Don't misunderstand. I think we do
Mhm.
better than most, but still, if I could just have flawless integration between my sales and operation department, I think that would change my business dramatically. And it is one of the things where I do spend a lot of my time coaching and working on trying to get better systems to have better communication between sales and operations and better training between those two departments. I think it's a software problem, man. I think it's an old age problem that salesmen are salesmen and they go and sell stuff and every now and then they tend to embellish or maybe overpromise a little bit. And
Okay.
then operations comes in and if you got the wrong tech on the wrong day, they are not meeting those very, very ambitious expectations that that salesman may have laid out to make that sale, right? And so really what we want to do and what everybody wants to do is you want to under promise and over deliver. And well, if you're not communicating and training well, what you end up happening on rare occasions, which frustrates me greatly, is you will overpromise and underdeliver, and that is not a recipe for success. You definitely want the opposite happening. And sometimes with sales and operations, I hate to admit it, that can happen and it's frustrating. Now we do a good job at making sure that it doesn't happen all the time and it's minimized, but I don't ever want it to happen, right? I want every customer every time to have their expectation here and to be blown away by the service. And then we only can do that by just having real good training and communication between the two departments.
Okay. Now let's segue a little bit. Where do you see yourself with the business a year from now?
A year from now, we're looking to expand into another state. We're going into Mississippi in about 4 or 5 months. And so I see myself in about a year from now, my day should look pretty much the same. We're just going to continue to grow and expand that company and have some new leaders that are leading a new region. And I'll be super excited about it because I always get excited when we expand. And there may even be a few months, possibly 3 to 4 months, where I'm even staying in Mississippi as we're launching that new branch just to be hands-on and maybe showing up at that branch for a few months just to make sure I get it off the ground. And so there's a good possibility my day-to-day for a few months next year could be a little more involved when launching a brand new branch. Usually when I launch a new branch, I am pretty involved at least for 3 to 6 months, depending on
Hmm.
how it's going. And so yeah, that's a good possibility for what my days could look like next year.
And now, what's the goal for that? What are your expectations for that?
When I open a new branch, we usually expect in 2 to 3 years to be generating by year three, we expect to be generating a minimum of $2 million in revenue by year three in a new branch. And by year 7 or 8, we like to be generating 5 to 6 million. And then usually if we get to around that revenue, we start looking to expand into another branch or another region again.
Okay. So is that the number that you usually tend to move on to another location or area? Is-
Every region is different. Like if you're
Okay.
in a city, if you're in a big city, that number can be bigger, right? But if you're in a smaller market and you get market penetration, in a big city, that number might be 10 million. In a small town, that number might be 2 or 3 million before your growth kind of starts to. I mean, you asked me about plateauing earlier. We never plateaued as a whole company, but I've definitely had branches in a market plateau, and we've had to either look at doing acquisition of other companies in those markets or expand our footprint further out to have continued growth. You can only grab so much market share in certain towns before your growth does plateau, and you got to either do acquisition or expand your footprint a little bit.
What do you think is probably the single biggest challenge between you and hitting your goal for that next location is?
The biggest challenge between me and hitting my goal for my next location going to be what it always is, having the right people in the right place. As long as I get the right people in the right seat, moving in the right direction, bought into the vision, and I can sell where we're going as a company and make them understand that if they do this thing with me, there'll be a lot of opportunity for them in their future and mean it and have them buy that because it'll be the truth. Then nothing will stop us. We'll move it. Where I can fail is if I hire the wrong people and I keep them there too long because my heart gets involved and I really like them and they're not in the right seat doing the right thing and my heart gets involved, which can happen. Then there's a possibility. I don't think that we could fail, but we could have a much slower start and not hit the goals in the time frame that we'd like to. But that's going to be directly on my head. The buck stops here with that. That'll be my
Yeah.
responsibility to make sure that that happens. And if I've had any weakness in my career, it has been that keeping the wrong people too long because I love people. And sometimes I can let my emotions really, really get in my way of, over the years, I've become better, but I've never gotten great at it. I still, even with all the knowledge and all the heartache and all the issues I've had over the years, sometimes can really just get to, man, just loving some people. I just love them. I love them for their personality. I love them for who they are. And they could still just not be the right person to do what I need them to do.
Yeah, it's got to be a hard thing to overcome or swallow.
I see some gangsters out here that do not have that problem like I do, man. They'll do it. And, I'm a little bit more of a heart guy, I guess. I'm a little bit more relational, but I mean, I've gotten better at it over the years. But yeah, it still can be something where I got to watch. I'll keep people on. You'll know within 6 months, and I'll keep them on for 2 years, kind of thing.
Now let's look at the company as a whole. If you had unlimited resources, what's probably the first major change you would make?
Unlimited resources, the first major change I would make, I probably would first upgrade my entire fleet and make sure all my trucks were like 6 months old or less, right? We have pretty new trucks right now, but I have some that are maybe 4 or 5 years old. I'd completely upgrade my fleet to all new trucks. And then I'd probably remodel every one of my offices for just to have that culture and that environment of just, you know, having a brand new office just to feel good. We do that as we can now, but I've had unlimited resources, brand new fleet, brand new remodeled offices. But even before I did all that, though, if I had unlimited resources, I'd probably be looking to buy a company that was bigger than mine. First thing I'd probably do, honestly. Somebody that was even bigger than me that I could buy them and double my whole company. If I had unlimited resources, that's what I'm looking for is a big acquisition target. Then I'm buying new trucks. Then I'm redoing my office.
Have you have you tried or have you bought any companies before? Any of your
You know,
competitors out?
yeah, I have. I've bought two of my competitors, but they were small. We're always looking for that opportunity, but that can be difficult just to find the opportunity and actually bring it to table. We did one that was, they were both small. I think we did one that was about 700,000 in revenue and another one that was about 250,000. So two small acquisitions, nothing big, but they help. You know, we like them and we're always looking for the opportunity. Even now we're actively, you know, seeking and looking for the right opportunity, but it is difficult just to get the opportunity. And then once you even find them to actually bring those deals to fruition. I mean, we've negotiated a few over the years. We've negotiated much more than we've bought.
Hmm.
And we just hadn't got to the closing table on several of them, you know, and oftentimes it becomes a, I don't want, how do I want to say it, man, is man, people, and I can understand this because I'm a founder, I get it, but your identity gets tied up in your business, man. You could think you want to sell it all the way to the closing table, but it's like selling one of your children or something,
Yeah,
and so it gets really emotional. And the ones that I have actually brought to the table and closed have been people that I have relationship with, long-term relationship with, right? And that seems to help. But just to go and get some of these companies to the table that I don't have a previous relationship with, I believe we're going to do it and we're going to make it happen in the future. But it's very difficult to get somebody to sell you their baby when you have no real relationship with them. And so what I'm trying to do is just build relationship with several people in my industry that hopefully one day, playing the long game, that you know ultimately maybe one day we'll be able to partner and do something special together.
absolutely.
But if I had a lot of money,
Buy
be a
them
whole.
all
Oh,
up.
also, I think if I could throw enough money in acquisition, all that feeling stuff would go away if I could write a big enough check. That's what private equity basically does, right? They write a check so
Yeah.
big that people just feel like, oh my God, I will sell my child to you because you write me a check so big. I ain't quite got those kind of resources yet, man.
Yeah, man, everybody I talk to about home services is bringing up this private equity
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, they're big in the space right now. And they're
Yeah.
paying multiples that are just, you know, I've been in this industry for a long time. I can remember when you would get 1 to 2 times your EBITDA, you thought you were hitting it out the park. And I mean, right now, some of these home service companies, man, it's not uncommon for them to get 15, 20 times EBITDA. Unheard of. I mean, it's just, I've never heard of anything like it. You know, it's great, but it makes it hard for a small acquirer like me to come and play too, right? That's
Yeah.
why I have a lot of trouble getting some of these deals to the table because I'm looking at some of these 1, 2, $3 million companies and they're not worth 20 times EBITDA because they're not big enough. But they didn't heard the story about John down the road who sold his company for 20 times. So they got a little bitty company and they want the same money that the $10 million company got. And it makes it difficult, man. It makes it
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever been approached by private equity?
Every day, every day. We've made a decision to not sell. We've been approached and we've had those discussions and we've been looked at and we get solicited frequently. Me and my wife works in the company with me as well. We have made a mutual decision, at least for the foreseeable future, to not sell. We want some more. Uh, and we may never sell. We don't know. But as of right now, it's not something that we've considering. But we do build our company to be optimized to be able to sell, to be the
Okay.
most valuable to be sold. So like we do run it with that mindset, but
Hmm.
we're young, you know, we're in our young 40s, me and my wife, we still have a lot of energy left. And so we have a long runway left still, a lot to do that we want to do still.
Very nice, man. Very nice. Are there any trends or yeah, are there any trends you see like that you see coming in your industry that you plan on capitalizing on? or any opportunities?
Yeah, I do. I think the AI is going to provide some opportunities. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think in the foreseeable future, you'll be able to replace most of your, not all, but I think a lot of your office staff and a lot of your back end and marketing will be able to be replaced with AI. And I think that'll add a lot of profit right to the bottom line when all that gets figured out. I think we're a little ways away from that still, maybe 3, 5, as fast as it's going, I don't know, maybe next year. But right now, I'm thinking 3 to 5 years before you could really, have AI, scheduling customers, selling customers, doing your marketing, just doing all the stuff, scheduling, all the stuff that it takes right now, an army of people to do. If the AI gets to where it can adequately do that, and it really is sounding more like a human and interacting more like a human than a robot, which I think we're going to see in the near future, I think, yeah, it's going to provide a lot of opportunity. And then also, I focus a lot. I like to say that I think for years in the customer service that we were in in the service business, we were in the customer service business. And I think that's changed to the customer experience business. I don't know if you understand that, but it's one thing just to provide a service and then, you do X, Y, Z and it's done. But I think today the expectations are more than just doing a good job. You have to make people feel good about what they're receiving and what they're doing. The competition is that much more,
Yeah.
and the consumer's expectations are that much more. So I do think it's an opportunity, whoever wins the customer experience by doing the little things, right? Will have an opportunity to really win over the big giants that really struggle to provide a good customer experience.
It's funny you say that because I just had a conversation the other day, and he's an HVAC. But what he does, one, he doesn't charge like everybody else. He charges much higher. All he does is in his units, he puts LED lightings, and the customers love it.
A better customer experience, right?
That's about how
Yeah.
you make them feel.
It's about, yeah, what they say. Nobody will ever remember what you say, but they'll always remember how you make them feel. Yeah.
Exactly. If you could go back and restart your business, what are a few things you would do differently?
Man, that's a hard question because I've been so blessed by the steps and the way that it fell. But I do know much more now. There's definitely some things I do differently. One, I would have ran some market analysis and actually opened up my branch where they had the most people with the most per capita. So we're in New Orleans now, but I started in a tertiary market outside of New Orleans. I'd have went right to New Orleans from day one, right
Hmm.
to the big city from day one if I'd have known that. Um, I would have had more of an abundance mindset. Like my mind would have been different. So I'll tell you a story. I met a guy a while back that had $100 million pest control company. And this was years ago. I think at the time I might have been at, I don't know, maybe $6 or $7 million. Right. This was a long time ago. And we had started the same day at the same time. He had started his company on January 1st, 2008. I started on January 1st, 2008. I'm doing 7 million in revenue, which I'm extremely proud of at that point. And I'm still, even what we're doing today, I'm so grateful and proud. And, everybody's journey is different. But you can't help but wonder, what this guy did different. He had because he bootstrapped it just like I did. He didn't have any resources that I didn't have or anything special that I didn't have. And we had the same amount of time in and started at the same time. So after he spoke at this conference I was at, I got to pull him to the side and talk to him. And I asked him, I was like, man, what did you do in this amount of time to be $100 million company? I've been doing everything I know to do, working my butt off for the same amount of time, and I'm very grateful and proud. But we're a $7 million company, and I'm thankful for it. But you're $100 million company. And he said, Jared, he said, from the first day that I went into business, everything that I'd done, I knew from day one where I wanted to be $100 million company, and every action that I took and every decision I made was made through the lens of knowing that I was going to be $100 million company. I mean, that hit me like a ton of bricks because I went back to thinking, what was I thinking in those first few years I was building my company? And I said earlier, but literally, I was in such just a mind frame of just, man, if I could just pay my bills and just have my bills paid and have some extra money, I will, because I was living off just a regular salary before. I never had a lot of money. So I was just looking for that basic financial freedom. And once I had achieved that, I really felt like I was happy. I was happy there. But then I met this guy that was no more talented than me, no more chances I had. And just because his mindset was different and he had a different goal and believed differently, he was doing 100 million. And my mind shift changed right there in that conversation. And we've exploded since then because my mind shift. So when in the beginning, I wish that I'd have had a bigger vision from day one than what I had originally. If my vision would have been bigger from day one, we'd be 4 times the size that we are today. I have no doubt about that. It's just my vision was limited.
What is one thing you hope to better at in the next year?
Man, the only thing I'm ever trying to get better at these days is personally getting better. Like personal growth, right? I'm trying to be wiser by reading more. I'm trying to focus on my physical health, my mental health, and just growing as a person. Because I believe a company cannot grow beyond what an owner grows, like personally. So my main focus is just personally, trying to make myself better every day in every way in my relationships, in my physical body, in my mental health, in my education of what I'm able to learn, and just constantly focused on self growth. And I believe the more I can do that, the more opportunity and the better I'll be able to use my own self growth to even grow my company further.
So we're in October 2025. What advice would you give to somebody starting out in your industry today?
Well, first thing I would say is just start. Don't be scared, right? I think so many times people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect time, the perfect opportunity. If you're thinking about it, you already got it on your heart. First thing I'd say is just do it, man. Go for it. Give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen is that you're broke and you're already broke. So what you got to lose, right? Go for it. And the next thing I would say is go into it, do your market research and go into the right market because the market you go into can make a big difference on how fast you can grow. We all kind of, when we start, just start where we're at because we don't know any different. But, now that I know different, do some market research and actually move and uproot your family and move to the best market for the thing you're providing. Don't just start where you're at. We live in a day and age where you can move and go wherever you want, do your market research and actually go to where the best opportunity for you to have success is. Don't just start where you're at, right? Unless you just happen to live in an area like that. And then have a big vision. Believe in yourself and believe that you can have that $100 million company because you can. And from day one, go into your work and your decisions with that. By the way, I don't have $100 million company yet.
Yet. When you think about where you want to be in a few years, what kind of support or tools do you wish
Man, you just hit
existed?
on it. I mean, being supported is huge for me right now. I'm always looking to be supported more by my team and put people around that can support me. I'm really big on that right now. As far as tools that can make my life easier, we're exploring the virtual assistants right now tremendously. We have one, but we're looking to possibly expand and not just in business, but in other parts of my life, like even like I travel a lot to different conventions and conferences, even like and I just finished reading Martell's book, so bear with me,
Yeah.
but some of that stuff resonates, right? Like he's when he talks about like he actually has a guy that plans his trips and packs his bags for him. At first, I
Hmm.
was kind of taken aback, like, man, what a like come on, dude, you can't pack your own bag. Like, what's wrong with you, dude? But the more I meditate or think about it, yeah, our time is so valuable and putting our energy into what brings us the biggest return is so valuable that yeah, I'm exploring different ways to possibly have some virtual assistants, do some more things to free up even more of my time to put my energy more on the things that bring me the biggest return.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that. I read that book 3 months ago. Fantastic book, fantastic book. And yeah, I kind of had the same feeling. I was confused, but then when you really think about it, that's your most limited resource,
It's
time.
time. Yeah, that's right.
You can always get more money, but you can't get more time
That's right, friend.
unless you try to buy back your time. But Jared, I really appreciate you for jumping on this call today. How can people
Yeah,
connect with you?
it was my pleasure, man. Well, my podcast, Main Street Mogul, at Main Street Mogul on YouTube, and my email is bugbossing@gmail.com or Jared LaJaunie on Facebook, or yeah, that's it, man. That's how they can reach me.
Jared, thank you so much, brother.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it. It was actually a joy getting to talk to you today. I love your energy, man. I think you're going to do big things. You already are doing big things, but I just love your energy and I enjoyed this very, very much. Thank you for the opportunity to connect to your audience today. I really do appreciate it.